Held Together is such a unique community because it's made up of people from all backgrounds. You know, you go to a school in LA, and I've taken some classes in LA at the schools out there, and they're great. I'm not bad mouthing them at all. You learn a lot of great stuff there. But there's also a sense of like Hollywood actor vibe, which is not really my thing. There's competitiveness of, you know, even when it's not like overt competitive interactions, it's like, hey, you know, what auditions did you do this week, or did you get that role? You know, and it just is not a place where I felt supported necessarily. Um, and I from those classes, I didn't really make like long lasting friendships with people. Whereas within Held Together, my best friends in my life right now are people that I met from Held Together, and they're people from all walks of life, younger than me, older than me, different colors than me, different identities than me. It really is just such a great representation, I think, of Long Beach as a whole, because Long Beach is such a diverse city. And you know, that's one of the things that I am really proud of with Held Together, is that it is such a welcoming place for people, where, you know, you walk into your first class and it's not like, oh, here's a bunch of, you know, young actors, you know, ready to, you know, be on the next commercial for whatever. You know, and there are plenty of people who come through Held Together who are actors, and that's great. I started Held Together as an actor, you know, so I love that. But it's more comprised, I think, of people who are looking for ways to better themselves, to get into better communication, into being more present in their life, and that really makes the biggest difference. And so we're sort of all on this journey of self-improvement through improv together, and that makes for a stronger community.
When did you first hear about Held Together, and why did you want to be part of such a great company like Held Together Company?
I'll start with this one. So I was already taking improv classes up in like deep in LA. I'm from Anaheim, so I did it for about a year until I got tired of the traffic and the drive. It was about an hour drive for me. So I was looking for something more local. So I did the usual thing. I went on Yelp, looked up improv classes, and the one that stood out to me the most was Held Together, based off reviews. So took my first class. I think Richard was my first teacher, and then never looked back since. And the reason why I stayed was mainly the camaraderie that this company brings. The friendships, it's the very welcoming environment, because improv can be very intimidating for a lot of people, and so when you have this welcoming environment, it really helps. So that's mainly why I stayed.
I'll go next, I suppose. So I found improv just kind of by chance. I was on the recreation classes page for Long Beach Rec. And I was just browsing the different classes that they offer. They offer like every different type of extracurricular class you could want. And I came across improv, and I was hesitant, but what I was really doing was looking for something exciting, because I was kind of bored. I was just working and living and single and had nothing really exciting going on. So I thought, you know, the most exciting thing is really the most terrifying thing, and that would be improv. So I signed up, and I didn't know it was Held Together because all it said was improv class, really, on the page there. So I signed up, and my first class was with Kendra. She was my level 1 teacher, and it was just so much fun. I mean, I went in obviously terrified, but it was just, yeah, so welcoming and fun. And there were people who were retaking level 1, so that showed me like a little bit of the next level to be. And I always want to be reaching for that next level. And I thought, yeah, I want to be as good as them. So I got to keep going. And I kept going. And now I'm still going.
I found it through the Parks and Rec, the Long Beach Parks and Rec little magazine as well. For me, at that time, I had 2 kids and I hadn't been doing anything for myself. And, I'd been going through the Parks and Rec catalog, finding classes for them. And at that point, I was like, I should look up something for me too. And I think it was like under the enrichment section. So they had like other self-help things. And I saw, I'm like, oh, improv. I've never thought about doing improv because I've done some acting classes in LA. And I think that was sort of the direction I was going towards. And then when I saw improv, I'm like, oh, it's Long Beach. This is so cool that it's like a 10-minute drive instead of like 2 hours in traffic both ways. And so it's like, okay, you know what? This is good. This means improv, there's not really going to be any homework like in acting where you have to memorize stuff. I'm like, this is exactly what I needed having with like 2 young kids at home. I can, drive 10 minutes, I can have fun, and then I can come home and not have to memorize lines and, and then just go back the following week. So yeah, that's kind of how I started.
I can go next. So I had moved to Long Beach in the summer of 2017. And I'd been looking for a community and friends. I didn't know too many people in the area. And it was actually the end of 2018 when I was on the Meetup app and just browsing events going on that weekend. And I came across Held2gether was putting on a show, an improvised romantic comedy. And I was like, that's amazing. Let's go. And so I went to the show and I was just blown away. I was a theater kid growing up and I'd done a little bit of improv in high school. And so I was just like, this is awesome. I didn't know this was here in Long Beach all this time. And then I saw that they were offering classes. So I signed up and I started with a level 1 class at the beginning of 2019 with Richard as my instructor. And that was amazing. And I was hooked immediately. First day of class, I was like, I'm staying here forever. And I have so far. And it's been awesome. And to, echo what everybody else is saying, the community was just so welcoming. It's exactly what I was looking for. There was people of all ages, of all backgrounds, different jobs, different reasons for why they got there and were interested in it. And it was awesome. And I haven't looked back at all since. And it's just so much fun. And I got basically a piece of my life that I hadn't really done a lot of, the kind of theater element back through Held2gether.
I'm a huge introvert, and so a while ago I was like, I need to get out there. I need to do something more than, I guess, the same thing as Kale, eat, sleep, work, and play video games. And so I was looking for something to do, and you catch episodes of Whose Line Is It Anywhere, and you're like, that looks so great. I wonder, and then so I looked up classes on Google, and then Held2gether was that perfect combination of affordable and had amazing reviews. I think Victor was touching on that. It's just all the reviews are they're so nice. It's a great community. It's wonderful. And when you start taking the classes there, that's exactly what you get. I also had Kendra for my first class, and it was so welcoming. Even for someone like me who's I don't know if I want to talk right now, or and then it's we're just doing a goofy thing. Okay, and then it just brings everyone together, and it's amazing. So
why is improv important to you? How has it helped you? And how has Held2gether helped your improv skills?
I guess I'll take this one again. Improv for me, especially nowadays when we're very technologically dependent. You always have a computer screen in between us and the other person. For most of us, I feel doing improv really puts you back in the moment of being with someone, especially on stage in front of an audience, to really connect with them. Because in my life, it's very rare to find that, because one, everyone you talk to always has a cell phone in their hand, and it's kind of like you're kind of battling their attention for their phones. But improv has really helped create that habit of being in a moment with someone and having a conversation with them and really actively listening to them. And I don't think there's any other art form that would really push you to do that and really truly trust the other person as you are in that moment with them. And I feel as a person, like Neil, I was an introvert, very much so, many years ago. I would say if you would want to interview me at that time, I would say no. But now I feel it's helped me build enough confidence in myself to put myself out there in the world and to trust that who I am is good enough. And I believe Held2gether has created that stepping stone to help me get to that better me. So that's how I feel about Held2gether in the improv.
So yeah, like those guys, I was also an introvert, and I think even more than just being an introvert, I was very like monotone, like very like stoic, and not really showing much emotion anytime I talk at all. And improv, like one of my favorite games is emotional fishbowl, where you just pull an emotion out of a hat, you read it, and you immediately have to do that emotion to an 11 while you're doing a random scene of improv. And it just like forces you to go so far out of your normal shell. And then it's fun, and it's like just great, helpful training for normal, everyday like existence. People don't want to talk to somebody who's just like straight up monotone, very reserved. They want to like really actually know you. And it helped me, just emote much more when talking. And then on top of that, just being on stage and all of that stuff, I hadn't really done much at all before. And it, like I said, I signed up to do something scary. And it gives you such a rush, even in class, just doing a tiny little exercise on stage in front of 5 or 6 people. It's such a rush every time because it's so unknown, and it's great when you get laughs, and it's so much fun, and they're so encouraging that it like helps build your confidence and everything like that, and it helps definitely come out of your shell. It helped me come out of my shell, and I see that a lot with Held2gether, especially because I've also taken now some classes in LA where that seems a bit more competitive, and they're a bit stricter and harsher with their notes and stuff, and it's not necessarily as confidence building. But Held2gether is very supportive, and they just help you become much more confident.
That's where I was gonna go to. Is I think doing improv has helped me become more daring and just be more confident in situations. Like I'm naturally a very cautious person, so a lot of times I'll run through entire scenarios in my head before like actually acting on something. But with improv, you can't do that. You just have to act on your impulse, and you have to, and the bigger you go, the better, because then it gives your partner options. And you just have to trust that going big, your partner will save you, and then the two of you will have some back and forth rapport. So that's one thing for me anyway, is it's definitely just trying not to run through entire scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely. I relate to that so much as well, Agnes. I improv has helped me get out of my head. I'm a naturally pretty anxious person, and when I'm doing improv, like none of that exists. You're like fully in the moment. And otherwise, I'd say improv has helped me basically feel like myself again, which is like kind of a weird thing to say, but I could tell that for a while I was like going down like the corporate route, like just go to work, go home, repeat, that kind of thing. And I was losing like the silliness and the playfulness of like what really makes me me. And when I got back into improv, that like tapped straight back into that, and then really like opened the door to like a lot of other creative things that I had kind of like put to the side. And yeah, it just lets you be a kid again. It lets you tap into your imagination. It lets you play. Like, who doesn't want to do that as an adult? And yeah, it really, really allows you to live moment to moment and, you know, take what you're doing in class and then apply it in real life situations where you might have otherwise hesitated or been anxious before. And now you have that confidence where you're like, well, in class, I do those crazy things and the world doesn't go burning up in fire. Well, I guess I could try it here too.
Yeah, just to echo everyone, really. It's a real confidence booster. It also is, I think, like stress relief almost. Like Nelly said, we're adults and we play pretend, you know, for like a 2-hour class, and it's just a good time for everybody. And I don't want to talk for everyone else, but it feels like those whenever you're in a class or doing a show and just with all the people that you trust so much, it just makes you feel lighter and better. And even though it's scary, you know you can face it down with the people you trust. And it's just like Held2gether is an amazing community. I don't know if there's some kind of shadowy background thing where they're culling people who aren't part of this community, but like everyone here who sticks around, I mean they're all great people. So, and yeah, everything else, confidence and all that good jazz too.
Why is it important to have a local improv company, and why should the Long Beach community get more involved in Held2gether?
From my experience, the reason to have a good local improv company is you don't have to drive to LA and sit through traffic. And it's kind of unfortunate that most of the acting improv classes are in LA. Very few are in Orange County. But I believe if you bring more to your local area, it does build a better community. It does teach a very important skill set. I mean, like I said before, we are, and ironically, bringing this up as we're talking through the computer screen. I mean, we're especially me. We're, as a society, we're very dependent through communicating through our cell phones and computers and all that. But to actually be with someone and to communicate with them, to build the social skills, I think that's very much needed nowadays. And so I think having more improv and more acting and more of the arts in the community will I believe build a better community. So yeah.
Not only is Held2gether, it's great to just have a different type of entertainment available around that you can go to on a random night. It's very inexpensive. Some of the shows are free. Some I don't know. The max price we've ever charged is what, $10. So it's just a great different. It's always different every time. There's no same show twice. Even if you see Broken Legs 2 weekends in a row, it's completely different the next time. So it's endless entertainment and very accessible and inexpensive and fun. And you get to know a whole different community from whatever you're in right now. And then on top of that, I think a majority of us have gone and taken classes in LA because of Held2gether introducing us to improv. And so it's also a great feeder school for anybody who is interested in or becomes interested in going to the much like the higher levels in Hollywood and all that. Like Neil said, it's inexpensive compared to those schools, and so it's a great get your experience first, and then go to the more intense schools and the more expensive schools after that. So it's both purely Long Beach entertainment, and it's a great stepping stone or feeder school to those bigger schools in LA.
So I think what I want people to know is that, you know, Long Beach is sort of halfway in between LA and Orange County. We're not LA, we're not Orange County. Like, Long Beach has its own culture, and it's, you know, even though, you know, we're around like these huge other metropolitan cities, like Long Beach itself is a huge city as well. Like, it would be the largest city in many states. Don't quote me on that. I didn't look it up, but let's just pretend I'm right. But no, you know, it's a very large city, and what's fun about having an improv school in Long Beach and having audience that are from Long Beach, we can talk about things that are in Long Beach. Like, we often bring up Mayor Garcia, you know, where in LA they would probably never ever talk about Mayor Garcia, like Robert Garcia, because it's like, why bring up another city's mayor? But, you know, we bring him up so many times in our shows because he's the Long Beach mayor, you know, and we'll talk about different things in Long Beach. Like, we'll oftentimes bring up the Queen Mary, or we'll bring up Bixby Knolls. Like, we'll just bring up things that are very unique to Long Beach. And so for Long Beach residents to come to our show, they'll, you know, I think it's fun for them to think, hey, that's just right down my street. I know exactly what they're talking about. I go there all the time. So I think that definitely separates us from schools in LA.
I think for me, it's just the community aspect. Like, staying local allows you to invest in your immediate community. And I always say that although Long Beach is a huge city, it has a small town vibe. And so, Agnes, what you're saying, like that's part of it, allows you to feel that small town vibe when we're all referencing the same places and we're all familiar with the same neighborhoods. And I think it's easy in today's world to become very individualistic and to just kind of be in your own bubble. And you could go all the way out to LA and come back, but it's very disconnected. And there's something very special about staying here in Long Beach, staying within your local community, giving back to your local community. And also making friends within your community, because when you're going somewhere that's only 10 minutes from your house, that means the people you're meeting are also living in your neighborhood. And, you know, that those relationships can extend even past just like improv class. And people should go to Held2gether because it's a very unique environment. As others have said, like there's a lot of different improv schools, but something that makes Held2gether super unique is that it's very warm and welcoming. There isn't any competition. It's all about fostering like a comfortable environment for people to explore something they've probably, or maybe they have done it or they haven't done it, but it allows you to explore it super, super comfortably with people at all different levels alongside you. And like they seriously, yes, and is like, so like it is done perfectly at Held2gether in every way, not just in our improv classes, but the way everyone interacts with each other as well.
As an invader from outside the community, I can just say that like Held2gether is such a wonderful introduction to the Long Beach community. I like I said, I did it through a Google search, so I just happened to choose Held2gether, which is in Long Beach, which is about like a 30-minute to 45-minute drive depending on the time of day. And it is well worth it. I've met so many people, and I've learned so many things about the Long Beach community. And it's like before this, I would never have made the joke about like, you know, the hill of Signal and then like Signal Hill. So now I can do that. And like Agnes was saying, it's just like one of those little things that you would never get in like a bigger improv class, I guess, or something where, I mean, maybe they have their own things and I just don't know. But it's wonderful to be part of this community, and I think it's also wonderful that that community helps me like learn about like the wow, the inception of that community, learning about that community, learning about the next community outside of that. So I think Long Beach really should support all kinds of arts just to reach out to people in general.
Okay, so I fact checked what I said earlier. I was right. So Long Beach has like 440,000 people in it. The largest city in each state, Birmingham, Alabama, 200,000. Anchorage, Alaska, 290,000. Little Rock, Arkansas, 193,000. So those are just the A states. Not to even the next letter in the alphabet. So I'm fact checking myself, and I was correct.
I'm glad we're not spreading fake news.
No.
Just I spoke on this beforehand, but just very quickly. Also, one of the best things in my experience has been friendships. Held Together is about this community, but the community isn't there without the friendships that happen. And I think I think Brian mentioned this in the interview for Social Distant Desires, but it's hard to make friendships as adults. Like, I think it's when you don't have like school or like work, but like work is sometimes like, those are my work friends, not like my, like, you know, at least in my experience. Sorry to any work friends who are watching this. But you know, the best people in my life today are people I met through Held Together, because we're all being vulnerable together and playing together and being silly together. And after classes, you know, if I'm teaching, one of my favorite things is watching students like leave off in like pairs and like, you know, like, oh, look, there's a friendship forming.
The mantra for Held Together is improv for life. What does that mean to you?
To me, I mean, I think we all kind of touched upon this in some of our answers, is that, and especially Nelly, the philosophy of yes-anding, to accept one's ideas and not to judge it, to be open to the other person. That philosophy of constructive criticism, well, not, I wouldn't say constructive criticism, but to just be open and to new ideas and new things and new experiences, I think is something that we can live by for anyone for the rest of their life, and it'll always lead them in the right direction. So
I will echo kind of what Richard was saying. Yay, friendships. And yeah, like in terms of improv for life, it's not only has it kind of transformed all of our more introverted lives to at least even slightly more extroverted and just a little braver in any day social situations, but also, yeah, friendships, relationships, in terms of just truly community building, because in those LA schools, people are cycling in and out of the school so quickly because they're all trying to be actors more than trying to do the improv. And so they cycle in and out very fast. But here at Held Together, people are, once you're in, you're in. And so it like that people keep repeating classes, you see the same people over and over. And so you get to know the entire community. Like if we're performing on stage, we usually know the entire audience, or we've at least seen them before. And as they come to more shows or they're in more classes, we'll get to know pretty much everybody inside the whole Held Together community. And so it truly is like a whole chunk of your life becomes Held Together. So it really truly is improv for life.
For life.
So when we joined Held Together, there's this blood oath that we had to do, which was for life. I guess anyone who's joining will soon realize that. No, there's no blood pack. No, so it was interesting when I first found Held Together. Again, what I said before is I went through the Long Beach Parks and Rec catalog, and it was under the enrichment section. And at that time that was odd for me because improv for me at the time I thought it was just like acting class, like it was just it was just something fun. It was an activity is sort of what I saw it as. But with Held Together, they definitely use the for life part in that it applies to other parts of your life. Like for me, I know that when you're on stage, you can't control the whole scene. Whereas in my life, I like to try to control the whole scene. But it's actually helped me to kind of relax a little in my personal life and just sit back and sort of let things happen and know that it's okay. It'll be a learning experience for me and other people around to not be able to try to control everything. And then also to Richard's point about just the friendships, like it's amazing, how much we talk outside of the class and sometimes, the classes would end like at 9:15 and we're still standing in front of the building at 10:15 and we're like, we should probably go. We should all probably go home now.
That is so true. Even later than 10:15. Sometimes we're there until the next day. We're like, oh, there's enough. Improv for life, and I think I've touched on it in some of my other answers, really just means it's not just about improving your improv or improving it, helping your acting skills. It really is you're walking out of class every day with a new skill set to apply to everything, whether it's your job, your friendships, your relationships with your family, whether it's however you carry yourself through your life. It just changes your perspective, and it's not just about improv, it's about life. And that's what that mantra means. And we really do live it every single day. And to be able to connect with others in class in our experiences and relate that I saw this change for me as a result, and somebody else maybe saw improvement in a different area of their life. We all have different stories of how it's helped us in our individual life experiences. And it continues to. There's no stopping point okay, I've reached the maximum amount of learning. There's always more room to grow and learn and keep practicing.
Improv imparts all these skills that you use every day that you kind of take for granted sometimes, because for me it's very difficult to banter with strangers, especially at my old customer service job. I feel there was a vast difference between what I was before Held Together and then afterwards, when I was able to be hey, let's talk about local sports team. I don't know anything about that sport, but I can still talk to you about it now because I can yes and what you say. And it was an amazing realization about how much listening goes into a normal conversation. And also touching on the whole for life aspect of I feel like I want to be part of this forever.
Right.
I don't see myself ever being well, I'm done later, and then just disappearing from Held Together. So it's such a wonderful thing. All these skills and all these connections just make you want to be part of this for life.
So improv for life is really just that. It's improv. It's taking improv and this thing that we get to do on stage and bringing it to your life for life improvement. And it's not necessarily, in our classes, we're not when you yes and on stage, what that means in life is this, and this. That feels a little on the nose. That's not really how I teach. That's not how Darren teaches. But through the practice of saying yes in scenes, of acceptance in scenes, of adding things in scenes, it just sort of bleeds over into your life.
Hey, if you want to learn more about Held Together Improv for Life, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HELD2gether. You can also look at Held2gether.com and sign up for our newsletter and see all of the happenings that are going on.
If taking improv classes with Held2gether sounds like something that you might want to try, I recommend checking out our website. That's www.held2gether.com. That's held, the number 2, gether.com. You can also check out our Held Apart show on YouTube at youtube.com/held2gether. And you can also find us on all the social media pages if you search Held2gether on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Hey, if you want to learn more about Held2gether Improv for Life, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/HELD2gether. You can also look at Held2gether.com and sign up for our newsletter and see all of the happenings that are going on.